Let's take a look at how to use the TRIM, LTRIM and RTRIM functions that are available in Microsoft SQL Server. The LTRIM function is a function that removes leading spaces from a string, and the RTRIM function removes trailing spaces from a string. The TRIM function has the added ability to remove space or any other specified characters from the start or ending of a string. Let's take a look at these functions in practice to get a better understanding as to how they will actually work. So here we have on screen three different functions: the LTRIM, RTRIM and TRIM function. The string that we'll be targeting is number1 dash learning SQL is amazing, and there is leading spaces as well as trailing spaces in this particular string. The LTRIM function will be removing the leading spaces from the string. So we're going to execute this statement, and as we can see, the leading space from the string has been removed. Now, Microsoft SQL Server, based off of how they return the results, it would appear as though the LTRIM function removed the trailing spaces from the string. However, that's not the case. The string still contains those trailing spaces. We're going to execute the RTRIM function, and this will be targeting these trailing spaces. So the leading spaces will still be present, however the trailing spaces will be removed. So what we're going to do is we're going to highlight both statements so that we can see the comparison between the LTRIM and the RTRIM function. So for the first result is that we are seeing the LTRIM function, and it removed all of the leading spaces from the string. Whereas the second result is the RTRIM function, and the leading spaces are still present. However, it has targeted the trailing spaces of the string. Now, as previously mentioned, the Microsoft SQL Server returns a result, and it would appear as though the LTRIM function removed the trailing spaces, but that's not the case. Now, to highlight that, we're going to take a look at the TRIM function. Now, for the TRIM function, we need to add additional information in the string so that it will be able to provide the result that we're expecting. So what we'll be doing is, at the start of the TRIM function, we have to specify the characters that we want to have removed from this string. So we are specifying the number sign, the 1 and the exclamation to be removed from this particular string, and we'll need to include the from keyword between the characters we want to have removed as well as the string that we are looking to target. So we're going to highlight and execute to look at the results. So we're seeing where this TRIM function did not make any change to the string at all. It still has the information present. Now, how we are able to identify that is, or rather, specifically, the TRIM function needs to operate on all elements that are at the beginning of the string or at the end of the string. And from this particular string, we have both leading and trailing spaces. So to be able to target the number sign, the 1 or the exclamation, it has to be at the start of the string. So to operate, what we'll be doing is including the space character as a targeted character to be removed from this string. So we have the number sign, the 1, the exclamation, and the space character. So we're going to highlight and execute, and we're seeing now where it removed the number sign, the 1, and the exclamation sign. Now, as previously mentioned, the space at the end of the result does not seem to appear when Microsoft SQL Server returns the result. However, if we note from the previous example, when we executed without the space, it did not remove the exclamation sign from the string. That's because it does in fact recognize the space at the end. So let me copy and remove that space just to highlight what we are discussing. So in removing the space character from the trim function and re-executing both, we're seeing where the exclamation sign is still present. And that's just to highlight that the trim function is recognizing the space at the end of the string. Therefore, it's not able to target the exclamation as it is not at the end of the string. So our key takeaways. The LTRIM function removes all the leading spaces of a string. The RTRIM function removes all trailing spaces from a string. And the trim function removes elements that are specifically identified from a particular string. And you'll have to provide these elements at the beginning of the trim function in quotes, so you'll identify all the characters that you want to be removed from the targeted string.